Hey friends, Adam here from Bantha Overland. So today I'm out at one of my favorite places out there. I know I always sign off my videos. Well, I'm in Joshua Tree National Park and we're on a big trip and we've been just exploring some new places, and this is a place I've never been. So you might wonder, what the heck am I going to talk about today? I'm always talking about Starlink. You've probably seen some of my other videos about powering Starlink and getting the best connection and using Starlink on a tripod and some of the accessories I've made for my Starlink 3D printing. But today, we're actually going to talk about why I get so excited about carrying a Starlink and why I have one with me. And that's so I can be places like this. So my Starlink lets me get out there for longer, lets me go further, lets me go places I never could with my work schedule and my vacation and stuff like that. And so Val and I, when we travel, we mix work and play sometimes on some trips. And today I want to show you how we mix work and play with our Starlink and how we work out of our truck camper. So we'll cover all sorts of things like connectivity, where I work, when I work, how I power those things, sort of my process and my workflow, some tips and tricks and equipment that helps me do it. So if that sounds interesting to you, stay tuned. Let's get into it. At Bantha Overlands, we're on a mission to inspire and enable more people to get outside and experience the fulfillment of overland-based travel. Join us as we share our adventures and tips for finding awesome routes and dispersed camping, make our own DIY overland gear, and find our balance of mixing work and play as we try to spend more of our time traveling, exploring, and connecting. So obviously step one is the Starlink, and right now we have a Starlink Mini on top of the rig. It works pretty well for the two of us working. We have our phones connected and our laptops connected, and it's not a problem for Zoom calls or things like that. I do have a Starlink field guide that gives into all the details about speeds and also some videos, so check for links below if you'd like to dive into that a little bit more. But the Mini is great for two people for most things. The only thing I like the standard for, the Gen 3, is if you upload a ton of data. So if you upload YouTube videos, or you're a content creator, you're a designer, something like that. I think the big one definitely can probably upload 3 times as fast. I say with the Mini, I can upload a meg every second or so. Feels like the 90s sometimes. With this one, goes much faster, but you got a lot more equipment to carry, and you can check out some of my other videos if you're curious about my comparison of the standard versus the Mini in real world conditions. So the Mini's up there. Sometimes we'll take it down if it gets obstructed at camp. So here in Joshua Tree, there's a big open sky, but sometimes it gets covered by trees or rocks or just gets obstructed, and so we don't get a great connection. And so I just have my standard here showing you how I'd normally mount it. I have a 3D printed tripod adapter that I make, and I put it on a photo tripod, and then that makes it really easy to just point it in the right place, and you got your connection. So that's the basics of how we set up our Starlink at camp, but let's get into how I actually work and structure my day and mix that work and play. So for camp, and it's a day where we're going to be doing a little bit of work, we also do other things that aren't work. So, we're here to enjoy the place. And so often when I get up, I'll make my coffee, I'll go out, maybe light up the howl if it's cold, and just do a little reading, sort of enjoy the quiet of the morning, and sort of hang out a little bit. We'll also structure our day sometimes based on the sun. So if the sun's out like it is right now, this is a great time to get power from the solar panels to power the Starlink. We'll talk more about powering the Starlink and the laptops and stuff in a second, but when the sun's out is really the best time. So often when we're doing work, it's sometime between 9 and 5. And we take breaks in there for hikes and lunch and just to get out and explore the place we're at. So this morning it was a little bit cloudy, and so we thought, hey, it's a great time for a hike. Good time for photography, and also the sun wasn't out yet, and so we couldn't quite float charge our devices and the Starlink, and so it just seemed like a good time to get out there for a hike. Now that the sun's out and everything's getting charged, it's a great time. The batteries are topped off, and we can also charge the laptops or phones if we need to. There's lots of places around camp we like to work. One of them is outside, and so sometimes they'll just set up a chair. Everybody's vehicle is going to be a little bit different. We have this little dinette. It seats 2 people, and so it's enough room for each of us to have our laptop out. I'll often have my laptop here. I like a little notepad for taking notes, and I have a pair of headphones in case I have a meeting or I want to listen to some music and not bother my travel buddy. And then keep my water bottle handy as well. So, you know, basic work area. I also use an extra pillow that we have with us. We sometimes use our sleeping pillows too, just as a little bit of lumbar support. Not all truck campers or RVs have great seating, so it can be helpful to think about the ergonomics of where you're going to work depending on how much work you're going to be doing that particular day. So in this case, my laptop probably lasts about a workday, if not a workday and a half, but I do have a USB-C to barrel jack power adapter, which I'll show you here, which I like a lot. And so I'll put a link below, but it's a little converter that goes from an automotive power jack or a cigarette lighter, as you may know it, to USB-C. And you can get these for different kind of interfaces, but that way we don't have to turn on an inverter. We do have an inverter in the rig, but it's just noisy. There's a fan. It's a little bit less efficient. So one of us is normally running off the laptop battery while the other is charging, and then we can swap when we're running low on one of the devices and we need more power. So I don't like to sit all day. At home I have a standing desk, and so I try and find places to stand around camp as well. Our truck camper luckily has this little area up here above the refrigerator, which is great for me to work on my laptop. And it even has this little wall which I can sort of lean back on. And so every vehicle is going to be a little bit different. I guess what I'd suggest to you is just experiment. If you have, you know, something in your van or in your truck camper or your RV, just play with it. Maybe find a space where you can put a box or a bin or something you carry with you and make a little bit of a standing desk. Even in the small 100 square foot space in here, we can definitely both work and have options to stand and sit and move around a little bit. So some other things that have been helpful as we try and manage power and make sure we have power for our refrigerator, our lights, for charging devices, and for remote working is this Victron battery monitor. So you can see here it's at 99.1%. So basically our batteries are full. And so right now we have a full 200 amp hours that we can run the Starlinks off of or charge laptops or things like that. Now, how much power you need really depends on which Starlink you're using, how many devices you're charging, and things like that. A Starlink Mini draws about 25 watts in real time based on normal usage, and a larger Gen 3 Starlink, the Starlink Standard, would probably draw anywhere from 50 to 100 watts depending on what you were doing. And so how much power you need for that really depends on which Starlink you're going to be using. And then additionally, charging, a laptop can certainly use a lot of juice as well. One strategy we like to use is just wait till it's sunny outside. It just makes it easy. So right now, as you just saw, our batteries are at 100%. And so we have 380 watts of solar on the roof of the camper. And if we need more power during the day, we like to use the devices during that period when the sun's out, because we're basically just using that extra power that is nowhere to go because our batteries are full from the solar panels. Well, if we need to charge a laptop or we need to run a Starlink Mini, it can run right off the float, if you will, of those solar panels. So here you can see our solar charge controller. And right now, if I go and show you how much juice is coming in the panels, not really anything because the batteries are fully topped up and we're not really running any loads. But you can see today we've had 56.4 amp hours worth of juice come in through those panels. So those batteries were probably at 70 or 80% this morning after running through the night. And so we try to follow the sun with our work. We try to run our devices when the sun's up and turn them off when the sun's down, which normally follows the average workday you're going to be trying to work anyway. But if it's helpful to you to do the activities you want to do and go for a hike early or late or at midday, you could certainly flex your work hours if that's something your employer is going to let you do. Our Starlink Mini and other devices in our truck camper are hooked up to an S-Pod, which is a relay system that lets us control these devices from this touchscreen here or from an app that's on each of our phones, so we can control it from bed or while we're in the truck driving or something like that. And so we have the Starlink Mini on here. We also have a separate toggle for our Starlink Standard. And so one of our favorite features is the ability to not only turn our Starlink Mini on, but also turn it off. So when we're done with the internet, often we're in cool places in the middle of nowhere. And part of the reason we're there is to get off the grid and disconnect. And so one of our favorite features is turning it off. And so we've developed this strange little ritual that we call Internet Hour around that on-off switch. And so the idea with Internet Hour is that if we're not working a particular day, but we need some internet, we need to download some maps, we want to check in, let our family know that, here's where we are in case anything goes wrong, or we just need to make some plans for the days ahead, we will turn it on. We will set a timer for an hour. We'll both sort of work through the things that we want to get done intentionally using that internet, having that connectivity. And then when that timer goes off and we're done, we'll ask each other, hey, are you done using the internet? Is there anything else you need to do? And if not, we hit that off button and then we enjoy the place we're at. We enjoy each other's company. And so Starlink is a really cool tool. But like any tool, you can do good things with it and bad things with it. And so we like to try and use it intentionally, especially on days off, so that we're not ruining being out there in the middle of nowhere and being present with the place and the people that we work so hard to get to. So little idea, share it with you. I'm curious if that's helpful. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments, or if there's any other ways you structure your workday or your time using Starlink so it's not taking over your life and it's a friend and a tool that you like versus something that you're like, geez, remember when camping was cool and everyone was here and being present. So as we travel and meet other people and talk about Starlink, one question that comes up a lot is it reliable? Can I trust it for real-time meetings like a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting or a Google Meet or something like that? In our experience, as long as you have a clear view of the sky, you're good to go. So you really need to pick a site where you're going to have that connection, whether it's at camp or you're stopping to take a meeting. We also use Starlink in motion, and we have a whole separate video about that. There are some situations where you're going to get into a little bit of trouble. If there's trees overhead or you go through a tunnel or something like that, it's obviously going to stop working for a little bit. So you need to plan a little bit ahead, especially if it's an important meeting, but it's been very reliable for us. Now, you're not necessarily going to have as much bandwidth as you might have at home. So I'm not a gamer or anything like that, but for checking email, for working on Slack, for two people taking occasional videos or using it to text or call on your cell phone, it works really good. It lets us stay in touch with family and friends. And so it's been a good tool for us as we've traveled to stay out here for a little bit longer and go a little bit further. Over the years, I've wound up making some accessories for Starlink. So I have my Gen 3 tripod mount here. I also have tripod mounts for the Mini and some other accessories like there's a cord wrap for the Mini with cord caps. So when we're out here in wild places, it just gets a little bit dirty and, we're trying to keep our equipment in good shape so it's ready to go. We know it's going to work. So we use the tripod adapter to get the Starlink off the ground so it's not going to get damaged and we're not accidentally going to trip over it or somehow do something to it where it's not going to work. And same thing with the cable, right? It's out here in a dusty, dirty, potentially wet environment. And so just keeping it organized, making sure it has a place to live, and keeping those tips clean so that they're not covered in dirt or mud or water is a great helpful thing to do. So if you're interested in checking out those accessories, there'll be a link below, or you can go to shop.banthaoverland.com and check out what we're making. We're always adding new things based on what we need. We sort of make the gear we wish we had, and we hope it's helpful to you as well. So Starlink can certainly be a great tool to help you get out there and go farther for longer. It's certainly helped us. But with any tool, we try and use it intentionally, and we try to not let it ruin the experience of being off-grid and disconnecting from the responsibility and the day-to-day chores of daily life. So I hope you found that helpful. I'd be curious to hear how you use Starlink on your travels and other tips and tricks you found to make it a sustainable part of that experience. Feel free to drop your thoughts in the comments. And if there's any questions that I didn't address, please drop those in the comments as well. And I'll either reply there or make another video and dig in a little bit deeper. And if you're curious to follow along on our adventures as we mix work and play, make our own DIY gear, and try and find awesome off-road routes and awesome dispersed campsites, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, I'm Adam from Bantha Overland, and I hope to see you out there real soon on the trail.